because the work my wife does, she's a lighting designer. You can see an interview I did with her earlier. I get to meet a lot of people in the design side of construction, which is really fun and cool to see that side of things. And I meet a lot of really neat people. And there's a few I want to have on the show. And I'm having one of those people on the show this week. And that is David Charles. He's one of those people that when he walks the room, it brightens up the room. He's always got a smile and gives you a lot of energy when you talk to him. And he also keeps abreast of all the stuff happening in the industry and makes sure people know that through his LinkedIn newsletter and just by showing up to all those events. And I wanted to have him on to kind of just talk about his energy level, like how he keeps that going and what kind of drives him, and then learning about the changes he's made in his life to, be his more authentic self in his life and business. He's currently the business development executive for Built Solutions. And before joining Built, David served as manager of the Resource Center at AIA St. Louis. He's also amassed 20 years of experience in the hospitality and nonprofit sectors. But let's turn to David to answer the question and learn who he is. Who is David Charles?
Yes. Well, Todd, I will say I'm very lights, camera, action ready. Coming from a lighting podcast. Yep. So, but I love to laugh. I love to smile. I love to hug. I, through the architecture industry, just take a part of my joy to give to other people. Okay. But outside of that, I love photography. I do a little bit of that on the side. I love to read. But most of all, I am really passionate about spending time with friends and family and really helping out my clients to achieve their dream spaces and get to the next level.
Hey, we need to keep the lights on here, so let's hear a word from our sponsor. CPI, or Chatsworth Products, wants me to tell you, install smarter, not harder. Chatsworth Products' integrated cabinet system is built with installers in mind. The Zeta Frame cabinet system is designed to make your job easier with integrated cable management, airflow control, and power distribution. That means fewer headaches, which is always a good thing, faster installs, and a cleaner, more reliable finish. Whether it's a telecom room or full-scale data center, CPI helps you get it done right the first time. Discover more by clicking on the links in the show notes that are going to take you straight to the Chatsworth section on graybar.com. Welcome to Keeping the Lights On. I'm your host, Todd Reed, and on this podcast, I connect with the owners and pros who design, build, and maintain our electrical, communications, and industrial world to explore the best ways forward. Let's get into the show. I like to start out each episode with the meals that bring us together, because a meal is a good place to kind of open up and share new ideas. If someone from one of the listeners from out of town were to come visit you, where might you take them, and why would you choose this place?
Certainly. Well, I'm taking you for some fried and grilled deliciousness at Olivet Diner over at Olive Boulevard. I am a born and raised Olivetian. So just like with Parks and Rec, where they have Newtonian. So I'm trying to coin that for the city. But they have been in business for decades. And in fact, the band Head East did their album cover, Flat as a Pancake, there in 1975. And I looked it up, and I can send you the photo for it.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
But it was really, really bold, and they had it along the walls. But really, the gridders are delicious. They're blueberry pancakes. I will remind you, too, to bring cash. They have an ATM there, but...
What was the first thing you said? You said the pancakes, and then what's the first thing you said to eat there?
So the cake, and then the griddlers. So they have griddlers, so good. So eggs and hash browns, and the main waitress who's worked there for years recognizes me when I come in on some Saturday morning. So that's the one thing that will get me out of bed.
I mentioned in the intro how we met, kind of through Lisa's kind of networking opportunities and events and stuff. And I just basically, this is David Charles. I meet a lot of people, but you really stood out to me as just a bright light in that kind of event. And I'm always like, I hope I see David. We saw you at that art event that one time, which is so cool.
Absolutely.
So we're going to talk about 4 challenge learning opportunities, that you've had throughout your life. And the first one I want to talk about, and you mentioned this earlier, overcoming your shyness and building connections.
Yes.
I would say that I guess I was shy, kind of introvert in high school. There was a time I came out of my shell like my junior year, kind of blossomed out a little bit, but It's been I'm far from that age, and it's been a continual journey to kind of break out of that shell, right? Can you share with that experience what it was like for you in high school, college, and early jobs? Like, how did that kind of manifest itself and kind of challenge you?
For sure. Well, I will say high school, being from St. Louis, I went to Crossroads, the obligatory question.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
But with that, was in a graduating class of 40. So
Oh, gosh.
even in such a small, tight-knit community, I was still not 100% as vocal as I am now. And part of that had to do with my family as well. So I've always been the youngest. And systematically, when you are the youngest, you have, a lot of comfort and you have a lot of support, but then you're not always able to, speak up immediately, especially if you have very powerful siblings, three altogether.
Oh, okay.
So I have my two older sisters and my brother, and they're like mothers and another dad to me, and then my parents. So going from that area where it's predominantly older people, where you can just kind of hang out and converse, being in a high school setting was a little bit more intimidating to me because, there are so many different interests. And for me, I was observant. So they were your usual cliques, your usual qualities of certain friend groups. And I got along with everybody, even in high school. But it was not until I went for the Missouri History Museum in junior year. So we had a volunteer block where you could leave campus and go elsewhere to, spend an hour and contribute back to your community.
Okay.
And I had driven past there almost all my life going to school, and I knew where it was. But Halcyon Brown and the volunteer services department, who has since moved on, but I remember being in the basement with her for that hour. So I would be, trying to do paperwork and talking with her, and it was a very affable connection because she was just really warm. So then it helped me a little bit more. And then that summer of junior year, the museum had a paid job opportunity in their gift shop. And if you can imagine, me being, kind of shy, I just thought I'd check out customers and see them along their way. And the boss I had at the time was really nice, and they were doing, administrative work and stocking behind the scenes. So it was just kind of me. 6 months later, a new boss emerged because the old one had left. And she was very, very experienced in the hospitality industry. In fact, she had run the museum store company, which was a store in the Galleria back in the day.
Okay.
And her name's Susan Ponceroli. She's now at the Art Museum. So reach out to Susan if you need some great items. But the one distinctive remark she told me was, you have to go and, make your business. You have to not just sit as an idle person, but you have to interact.
So don't wait for it to come to you.
Exactly.
Get out there.
Get out there. And
Interesting.
Do it. So, and that was really enlightening to me. And that was.
How did that make you feel? Like, did you?
Very scared at first, to be quite honest, and it was a little had a little bit of hesitancy because when someone tells you have to do a certain thing, it kind of alluded to criticism, like, okay, I'm doing this wrong. So
interesting.
So I was a little defensive about it, but then I slowly, because I wanted to keep my job, wanted to do her advice, and it miraculously worked.
Okay.
And then when I went to college is truly when I think broke away from my shell. So it was sort of like the pebbles. So it was the first stage was learning to talk more, and then leaving St. Louis for the University of Kansas. Which,
Rock Chalk Jayhawk.
Rock Chalk Jayhawk always. First, it terrified me, honestly, to be there.
I would think so.
Yeah, exactly. It was like, what? I'm true fish out of water. But my dorm, Templin, I got to know my floor mates, and literally within the first 3 days, I instantly felt at home because I had made those now long-term relationships. Two people who I met in college, I'm actually going to go to see in North Carolina in a couple days.
Fun.
So fun
Yeah.
segue. But having that ability to be in a new space and to kind of have all those inhibitions away from you, and you are able to present yourself truly as yourself.
Yeah.
Really was an eye-opening experience for me in college. So
Yeah. So what steps did you start? What steps did you take to start building connections with others, especially in the customer-facing roles?
absolutely. A lot of it had to do with networking and what I would call professional now, like the networking groups, et cetera. When I came back from St. Louis, it was a lot of the same. One particular group was called Design Speak, which Lisa may know of.
Okay.
It was about 2 decades ago when it started, but for me, it was not only just being vocal with career counselors at school, but when you got back, because everybody's looking for a job, and it was
Sure.
at the time a saturated market. And then I was 1 year into the recession when that hit, so all of those guaranteed jobs and cars, like Oprah would give you get a car, you get a car, like companies, you get a job, you get a job. It was barren.
You
in
get
the
you get
architecture
nothing.
industry.
You get nothing.
You get nothing.
Nice.
You got here's a piece of paper. Here's a bag
Yeah,
that's along the
interesting,
street.
yeah.
So I realized I had to utilize those sources early and to kind of get my network together. One person who ran it, Kimberly Ruther, was instrumental later on in getting me a job at a furniture store. And then Derek Masek, he's now director of design at Keeley Construction. And then there's a gentleman named Nick as well. But the four of us were doing lunches together and some evening events together. And then that led to kind of the social events where I definitely was amongst designers and principals in the room. But a lot of it had been to just be comfortable and practice.
Yeah.
Hey, like this, I'm just out of school. What do you do? And be genuinely interested in the person, because it's
That's a big thing.
it's a huge thing.
So were there any mentors or like a specific pivotal experience that you can remember that helped you become more comfortable interacting with people?
Absolutely. Susan, for sure. Susan was pretty dynamic in getting me those opportunities. And then in my roles within the History Museum, being able to do more. So I went from gift shop associate to customer service coordinator, and then that led to assistant manager. And this was over a period of years.
Sure.
Because in and out, I would actually be in college. So then they held my role for me.
That's cool.
And when I came back, and I needed to pay some bills, and they're like, come on back. And I really became familiar with all of the leadership there and just all the people there.
Okay.
But Susan was very pivotal. And then there was a gentleman named Tatsuya Nagawa, who later in my career, I reached out to when I started at the Resource Center of AIA St. Louis. And he had won a Shark Tank competition in Asia. So he's brilliant. And now he runs his own podcast called the Specified Growth Podcast.
Okay.
And I, in my AIA role, was a manager of architectural products. So organizing via CSI selections, as you all know very well, a lot of lighting products.
Okay.
So, but I emailed a lot of different kind of influencers in the realm, and Tats was one of the only ones who responded back. So I ironically had a list of questions I wanted to ask him and pick his brain, but he was so comfortable. I remember when we turned the Zoom on, and he was just like, hey, I'm really happy that you are in this space, and just proud of you. And because he had read my LinkedIn, and ever since then, and that was when I started in 2019. I can't believe it's that long ago. 2019. I had listened to his podcast, so we'd check in periodically. But one specific instance, he had told me to start recording myself and to start speaking my own voice, because social media had really started to catapult in the professional space, and you would see companies do branding deals and other promotional gaps. And Tat said you can be your own brand, so don't be afraid to vlog and record yourself. But it is really helpful because from what Tat's told me, you as a vehicle can not only speak about what's important to you, but what is important to your company, what is vital to the success of both. So don't be afraid to lean in that direction. And I also was inspired by him because he wanted to be a comedian. And he had signed up to do, I believe there was the Funny Bone in LA. It's just like a stand-up session. Sure. And he did great with it. But he was documenting the process and told us in his series of episodes, like, this is what I had to overcome, because it is not for the faint of heart.
That's a tough one, yeah. So how did overcoming the shyness help your career and personal growth?
Oh, I believe it catapulted it, honestly. It took me from let me say that again. It catapulted me into not just existing in my work, but thriving in my work, and not just liking what I do, but loving what I do.
Okay.
Because when you are not shy, and I say shy, but I'll elaborate on that later. But when you are confident in asking for what you want, then the doors will open. And the worst thing someone can say is no. So why not try? And as well, from the History Museum, when I decided to leave for the AIA, I had the confidence from the skills I learned with managing, because at that point I did merchandising, I was interacting with vendors, I was coordinating events, I was helping my fellow associates with scheduling and getting them to have more customers on the floor. So the Resource Center being in its own entrepreneurial state, I was enticed by it being the first, and having had the technical education as an architect, I still loved the people part of it.
Sure.
And the Resource Center was a nice blend of both. So I would not have been as comfortable without my experience to apply for it. So the overcoming shyness was huge in just being the best kind of model I am. And it's still an ongoing process too. I think when you are confident with who you are and what you can provide to the table, then you can ask for more experiences, and you can be amongst other smarter people at the table. One thing I always say is you can't be the smartest, then you can't, because you can't learn, and then you can't then further grow in your own journey. So,
I want to take a minute to hear from our sponsor, Chatsworth Products, or CPI. When you're on site, you need infrastructure that works with you, not against you. Chatsworth Products gets it. That's why their solutions like the Zeta Frame cabinet and eConnect PDUs are engineered for fast, flexible installs with no surprises. Factory pre-integration, smart cable pathways, and reliable power mean less time troubleshooting and more time getting the job done. Plus, with US-based support and fast turnaround, help is always close by. Discover more by clicking on the links in the show notes that we're going to take you straight to the Chatsworth section on graybar.com. Let's get back to the show. So you started in architecture, you studied that, design, that kind of thing. Like you said, a little technical stuff with computer and aided design and all that. But you found yourself kind of drawn to marketing and client interactions. What challenges did you face realizing that maybe architecture wasn't your only passion?
Absolutely. So I will say the dreaded word, redlining. Redlining. So that is in the process of being a designer and editing other people's work. For me, it was, I think, in my creative head, because in college I studied architecture, but I also had a minor in French. And then when I went for grad school, I did my master's of arts and architecture design with emphasis of like social elements. So I loved thinking about the bigger picture of why a building was created and erected and what the overall use had been.
Okay.
So being in that specific role was a conflict of what I really wanted to do.
Okay.
And it took for me actually doing it to recognize that.
Sure.
I will say that Colleen Studio Architects was the best possible place for me to do that because, one, I loved the work and the team is incredible, but they also allowed me to go a little bit in the marketing direction. So
Okay.
I would then, after I left the desk part, take photos of completed projects and then help do their social media campaigns and help with PowerPoints. And I felt really proud to do that, and I got my kind of left-sided brain a bit more, and then also getting assistance from those architects and outside clients, and it also.
Was there uncertainty and pressure of changing directions after years of study and money going into educating about architecture? Was there some pressure about changing, or was there not any pressure?
That's a good question. I would say that there was certainly a little bit of pressure, but also many people have to pivot in order to survive. And I call the pandemic a huge portion of that, where a lot of other individuals who swore to, study and have a wonderful career were not able to just because those opportunities were not there. And one thing that I applaud is, we take a bad situation and we make it better. We take some lemons. We got eventually make lemonade. We got squeeze every little drop we can.
Yep.
But also, I allude to my family. Being Haitian, my parents immigrated many decades before I was born. Well, I'll also say my parents immigrated to Haiti before I was born, and my father was the first chief of staff at Homer G. Phillips Hospital in North St. Louis, along Martin Luther King Drive, and he was a huge component of education and instilled that in all of us. And pivoting for me was a way to learn more skills. So it was an open opportunity, rather, to kind of enrich myself. And I always think of that. He sadly passed in 2022 at 90. And one of my best friends, but he always was the most proud of educating himself and also helping others. So with that open opportunity, it kind of gave me an option to do that.
Yeah. It's like there was a lot of room for you to kind of find yourself. Yeah, that's great.
Yeah.
All right, so last question in this section. What advice would you give to someone who feels either stuck or unsure about making a shift into something different?
Yes. Well, it's two-parter. Once I put yourself out there, you can only do as much as you allow yourself. And then secondly, make mistakes right away. A lot of people think that if you go a long stretch without making a mistake, then you're just perfect. And that is the hardest aspiration to have, because what is perfection? Right? And in a world where architecture is evolving, where technology is evolving, there's always going to be something else that you need to master.
Yeah.
And if you purport to be the best at everything, then if you try it, you might scare yourself. So just don't be afraid to absolve yourself of that. And even as you are starting a new career, some of your fellow colleagues could be doing the same thing for 10, 15 years, and you're just starting out. I know from personal experience, another experience dictated to me that as long as you give your all and know that you are striving to do the best that you can do, then it's going to work out in the end.
Yeah. You had mentioned something about creating a vlog, putting your voice out there, and kind of like that step. So I think you've done this in one way is through a LinkedIn newsletter. That's one thing you've done, right?
Yes, absolutely.
And contribute to podcasts. I don't think this is your first one, right?
No, not my first one, but certainly one of the best ever.
100%.
Yes.
100%. Yeah. Yes. Appreciate that. All right. So how do you decide what content to create and put out there?
Absolutely. Well, part of it is what excites me. I've always been one that likes writing, so if it's something that I get fulfillment out of, and it's also a way to tie into a hobby. So that is also indicative of something that if now I do monthly that I would want to do, and it's not a chore. So just the act of it. And then figuring out what to put in is really about the industry. And I think back to when I started at AIA, where we have our own weekly missive or newsletter that has been going on for decades. And one of the prior executive directors, Michelle Swatek, had started it. And then it's evolved since then. But a huge chunk is the chronological listing of events. It's a listing of all architecture-related content and events. So then for me, it was very, very interesting and helpful and knowledge base. Let's see, what's the word I'm thinking of? Resource. resource. The lights are killing. No, it's a better resource to know exactly what's going on. Because one, if you're new in the industry or new in a city, you have a network. So where are the key players? And then two, if you are wanting to be brand new in the industry, just graduated, where are the principles to get new jobs, or what ways can you get in front of people? And so from that standpoint, and then as well, there are a multitude of groups in general in St. Louis. Like, I read at one point, I think we had like 1,000 nonprofits in St. Louis.
Oh, wow.
Some exorbitant number. So being able to decipher which nonprofits are doing what events, because some people may not even recognize that, there is a landscape architect group, or, we have 4 different types of architect groups. And from having to talk and attend certain events with these groups through AIA, it's like, hey, this is kind of a gift for people to make their own assumptions of what is valuable to them and valuable for obviously gaining business too.
Sure.
So through my newsletter, it was a trial and error. I at first wanted to do every week. And then I realized this is too much work for every week.
I like writing, but not that much.
Not that much, exactly. Or if I do write, I'll have like a couple specialty posts. Because some may tell too, I love taking pictures, so I could be a little bit of a perfectionist. It may be like 10 hours before I get an issue ready. It was like no, but the frequency of the newsletters, and then I recognized monthly was a good cadence because just enough where people can get a rundown of everything that's going on. And it's simple. And as well, I can give credence and promo to my own company, my own business. So Built Solutions, where I'm business development. We have the dirt system, the premier dirt dealer, have for 8 years. So do a little bit of a highlight of that, but then also spotlighting events I've gone to and giving the sort of proverbial mic to people who I really appreciate and taking photos and showcasing what their talents are. So like for AGC events, for example, AIA events, giving them kind of the title block. So it's as much a gift to the industry from a research point of view, but also just a thank you for all that they do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So what impact has this content creation had on your professional network and career?
It has expanded it. It's right now I'm about 800 followers on the newsletter.
That's cool.
So it was amazing.
All right. In our prep, one of the things you talked about, and unfortunately I can relate to this, is being a people pleaser. Yes. It's a good thing, but it can also be a challenge. It
should be a challenge.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
So you moved beyond people pleasing and it started to embrace authenticity.
Yes. So I would say certainly when I was younger in high school, for me, I tried certain things to gain friendships and just to have, people notice me.
Okay.
But in the process, they might notice you, but then they don't value you for you, but they value what they got from you.
Okay.
So
interesting.
It's something where your good nature is taken advantage of.
Yeah.
And moving through life, I definitely don't want to continue that behavior. And as I've gotten older, I have recognized that being my own individual self is enough. A lot of times when I was younger, I felt like trying to get a certain person's attention would somehow add to my own value because I would be walking around and then, living externally instead of when you are internal. And this is certainly myself now in BD. Those professional relationships, I come in completely authentic. So it's a joy to be around people, but I certainly will not compromise knowledge or omit anything to make you feel better. Like this is the straight answer because it's beyond, well, first of all, it's beyond me, right? Like I don't want to come across and have a relationship with someone based off of trust if you don't know who I am completely.
How do you balance between being approachable and supportive while maintaining your own boundaries?
Yeah, so I think for me, I love helping people. So it is something where partly the newsletter, here are a lot of the different events that are going on for new industry leaders or new people in the industry. If I meet someone, I love kind of chatting with them and making introductions. But then at the same time, if I don't want to feel like their shadow. So it's a good balance for me of like, okay, hey, because when I was younger, I would tend to linger a little bit to be like, hey, like, notice me, spotlight on me. But kind of bouncing around a little bit. And then also having a time limit to how long you're at an event. So say if you only have an hour and you need to make this connection or you need to entertain a client and then, turn it on, but, have in your mind, what are the bullet points of why I'm here? Like what information I need. Sometimes what can I get to know about somebody? Because then that increases that, connection to someone. And then if you start to, wane out, then kind of, step back a little bit. Yeah.
One thing I've noticed in our conversation before I get to my last question to you is that, and I was keeping track because I noticed it right away.
Okay.
You mentioned 9 names of people, different names like Michelle and, I'm not going to go through them all, but I thought that was pretty cool. It's an interesting thing that see how your brain works, about you're thankful for those people and they're always popping up in your mind as those people who have contributed to your life and energy and success. And so that's just a cool thing I noticed about you, David. So that's pretty cool that you always giving them credit that your credits are rolling there next to you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Yeah, but the music's on, so you got to stop. Okay, so.
Exactly. That's why I'm not at the Oscars yet. But yeah, there's no orchestra when I'm at the Oscars.
Yeah, that's right.
Because I'll talk forever.
You'll get there. All right. So my last question to you is I always like to close our conversations by refocusing on the why of what we do. Mm-hmm. So David, what motivates you to do this day in and day out? What keeps you excited and passionate about what you do?
Absolutely. Well, first and foremost, my motivation in this industry, in the AEC, for not only the opportunities it's given me of late to speak about myself, speak about modular construction, and also work in spaces and groups to further the knowledge of what we are capable of doing in the future. Mm-hmm. And St. Louis right now is on the precipice of major developments, not only downtown, but in the county, multifamily, mass timber. And just having a slice of that is really exciting. Yeah. And it's something that we hadn't really seen before. And kind of part of where the joy comes in, too, right? Where in some waves, St. Louis was a little more drab, where people were kind of moving out, and also kind of the comparison syndrome. So being able to add in the chorus, St. Louis is a great city. St. Louis sometimes has its own kind of down talk on itself, right?
Sure.
It needs to please itself more, St. Louis. And then also for me to say, just for today, so many opportunities, like being here with you, like who would have thought, from running into you at the Career Awards months ago, and then we're talking now. So kind of that honor, and I don't think any less of that, especially as I almost embark on a new journey of a birthday coming up in January. Okay. It's a lot of time for reflection, where there's been a lot of highs, a lot of lows, especially 2025. But there is the hope for tomorrow, and just the light never dies in me. So I'm going to shine it on as much as I can, and being able to do stuff like this is why it motivates me in the morning.
Yeah, awesome. Great. Well, David, thank you so much for taking the time to be here with us, and it's been great having you on the show.
Thank you, Todd, so much. It's a pleasure. Yes, I'll see you at Gray Bar in Clayton soon.
Oh, yeah, cool.
And then the diner will be.
Oh, that's right. Let's go to the diner.
Yes.
That was my conversation with David Charles. You can connect with David and what he's working on by heading to the links in the show notes. I would love to hear if you've made any pivots in your career and life to, that have helped you live in a way that is more true to who you really are, and how they've helped you succeed. Send me an email at podcast@graybar.com, or leave a comment in Spotify or YouTube. If you've enjoyed this episode, you can help us grow this show by subscribing and leaving a 5-star rating in your favorite podcast player and YouTube. Thanks for listening to this episode of Keeping the Lights On. We'll see you next time. All right, David, what advice would you give to your 18-year-old self?
Oh my gosh, I would say live your best and defy the rest. And I say that because, as we'll get into a little bit later in the interview, I've always been, within my shyness, very subconscious of what other people have thought of me, or what I should be expected to do. And in the grand scheme of things, the times where I went all out on my own is when I yielded the best results.